Good evening, children. This is your teacher Ramakanta sir. Today, I'm here to discuss with you a fresh new chapter from the book of English of class 7th. It is the first story of the fourth section, and the title of the story is Three Questions. It's a wonderful story with a beautiful moral to learn from it also. So, I'm going to discuss with you the various important points of this particular chapters. This will make your learning very simple, entertaining, as well as useful. But at the same time, I request you all to read the text after going through this particular video. You go through the text, and this will enhance your learning. Your learning will become permanent. You will understand it much better. So, anyway, let us start the video. This particular story, Three Questions, is a beautiful story, and it is the story about a king who always wanted to be a successful and a good ruler. He had three questions in his mind, and these three questions always puzzled him. It put him in trouble. Many a times he would ask himself, he would ask other people to get a good reply to those questions. In order to get the answers, he called for a wise man of the kingdom. Even he had to go to meet a hermit. But after all these activities also, there was nobody to answer his questions. And eventually, at the last, you will be coming to know that how he discovered his own answer. This is the most important thing. Many a times, what happens in our life, we develop some questions in mind and we keep wondering the answers from others. We think that it is other people only who can answer us or who can help us or who can guide us better. But eventually, we come across certain experiences in life which gives us the answer in the best possible way. So this is a story in that way it is going to happen. So first of all, before we go in details, I would like to introduce to you the characters of the story. So let us know what are the characters involved in this particular story. Here I have mentioned four characters. The first character is the king himself, the protagonist of the story. The king was a good ruler. He wanted to be successful as a ruler. He had three unanswered questions that puzzled him a lot. This one I have already told you. He had developed three questions in his mind. He consulted many people, even he called the wise man of the kingdom, but he was not satisfied with the answers and the replies given to him by the wise man. He then decided to meet a hermit. A hermit means, what do you understand by a hermit? A hermit means a saint, or you can say a sage, जिनको हम साधु कहते हैं, बाबा कहते हैं. Okay, so a hermit living in a forest in a small hut, and the hermit used to live in a small hut. He spent a night along with the hermit to get his answers, but the hermit never replied. The hermit was a really intelligent fellow. He did not answer him, but he put him in such a problem that the king got to know his own answers. He discovered his own answers. Eventually, an accidental experience makes him discover the answer by himself. This is the most beautiful thing. Okay, that we should take note of this. That we also have the ability to solve our own problem instead of asking others, instead of looking for the answers from other, it is better we should try to devise the answer. We should try to solve the problem at our level or by ourselves. The second character that I have mentioned here are messengers. Messengers are whom? Messengers are the people who work for the king. What is the duty? Their duty is to convey the messages to others. When they are being asked by the king to take a message and convey to someone else, it is the duty of the messengers to ensure it. And what they did in this particular chapter is a very tremendous one, a very great job that have been done by them. When the king asked the messengers to go and collect the wise men who lived throughout the kingdom, it is the messengers who spread the news that the king has three questions in his mind, and whoever comes with a good reply, they would be rewarded by the king with a large sum of money. So it is the messengers who did the job for him. Next character that we have is the very important character, is the one who helped the king to discover his own answer. That is none other than hermit. A hermit means a wise saint who lived in a small hut in a forest. He made the king discover his own answer. He was a very simple man, and he preferred to live among the common people only. He didn't want to be a part of the luxury. He didn't want to have luxurious thing in his life. That's why he hated the rich people. He never wanted to meet the rich people, royal people. Okay, so in the story, when we'll be discussing about the summary, also you'll get to know. Okay, we'll be going in details in that. Next comes the next character here is the Undead Man. What do you mean by Undead? Undead means injured, a man who is injured. He also comes into the scene here, and that is also mentioned. What is his role? This man had planned to attack and kill the king. Why did he want to kill the king? He wanted to take a revenge. Revenge means बदला. In Hindi we say that it is बदला. उसने मेरा कुछ हानि किया तो मैं भी उसका कुछ नुकसान करके ही रहूंगा. That attitude is called revenge. So this particular man was in a mood to kill the king. Why he wanted to kill the king? Because his brother had been killed by the king. So he had a plan that he would kill the king and his bodyguards, and he would seize all his property. But finally, at last, what happens to him? That is the most important thing to learn from this chapter. Finally, this undead man, he realized his mistake and he begged forgiveness from the king. He realized that what he had planned was wrong, and that's why he wanted excuse. He wanted excuse from the king. Let us go into the brief summary of the story. So now I'll be telling you the summary in brief. Kindly pay attention to this, and this will help you understand the text better. Once there lived a king in a kingdom. He was a good man. He always wanted to be a better ruler and a successful king. He had three questions in his mind that puzzled him. And these three questions were, what were these three questions? These three questions are very simple one, but still these questions were very important for the king. Okay, it might seem very easier for you. Okay, it may seem very easy to answer also, but for king it was a very difficult task to get a good answer for these questions. The first questions that was coming in the mind of the king was, what is the right time to start to do something? Okay, what is the right time, I mean the best time to do something or to start to do something? Suppose you are going to do something new, then what is the best time to start it? That was a very good question. The second questions that came in the mind of the ruler was, which people should he listen to? This is, of course, a very diplomatic questions, and it is quite difficult to understand, especially for for a person like the king, who is always surrounded by many other peoples. Thousands of soldiers are there who are working for him. Thousands of peoples are there who are working in the court. Thousands of counselors are there. Ministers are there. So, whom should he believe? Whom should he listen to? Who is the most reliable person? So this is really a very diplomatic questions and a very good questions that is come in the mind of the ruler. The third questions that he had in his mind was, what is the most important thing for him to do? What is the most important thing for him to do? Obviously, this is also another questions with much more importance. For a king, there are lot many works to do for the state or for the kingdom or for the people of his kingdom. So what is the most important thing? He wants to prioritize it. He wants to know that which work is of the top priority, which should be done first. Okay, and what is the most important thing in his life to do? So when he got puzzled by these questions, what he did, the king sent messengers to all parts of his kingdom. He also declared a hefty sum of money in the form of reward for the wise man who could answer it. This is the reason, this is the reason why a lot many people turn to the court. They turn to the court of the king. All the wise people who lived in that particular kingdom, they wanted to answer these questions. They wanted to be rewarded. They wanted to get a large sum of money from the king in the form of reward. So they all attended the court. But what happens when the wise man came and tried to answer it? Let us see what's happening there. When the wise men finally gathered in the court to answer his questions, they all recommended various suggestions to king, which the king finally found to be illogical. Dissatisfied with the answers, he decided not to reward any of them. This is the irony of this one. The king believed that these wise people are really intelligent and they can easily answers to his questions. But unfortunately, the answers which were being proposed or suggested by these wise people, wise man, was illogical. The king found it to be illogical. Okay, and he was not satisfied with any of the answers given by them. So finally, what he did, he decided not to give reward to any of them. So the wise people who had come a long way to answer the questions had to go back empty handed without any reward. Let us see after that what happens. The questions were still ringing in his mind. It was still revolving around him. It was still puzzling him. So, what he did, the king decided to visit a hermit who lived in a small hut near a forest. This was the only opportunity that he had, or the only way he was left with. And that is why he decided to go and meet a hermit. He has heard a lot about that common man. He has heard a lot about this particular intelligent sage. So that is why he believed that this man can definitely answer his questions and would solve his puzzle. He was old and a very simple man. The hermit was old and a very simple man. He only met common and ordinary people. So, from this point, you can understand that what kind of life is being led by sage and the hermit of our country. हमारे देश के साधु लोग किस तरह के जीवन जीते हैं, it is clearly mentioned in this particular sentence. He only met common and ordinary people. He never wanted to meet people like king or royal people. He didn't want to meet rich people at all. So the king dressed up like an ordinary man and went to the hermit. So the king has played a very good trick here. He changed his dress and he dressed him like a common man or an ordinary man so that hermit won't be able to recognize him. At the very first sight, when he went to the hermit gave no reaction. He was a very intelligent man. Many people visits him every day. So he didn't show any kind of reaction. Neither he wanted to know who the king was and why has he come there. So he had no interaction with him. And at that moment, the hermit was busy digging the soil. He was busy digging the soil, I think for some agricultural purposes. He was digging the soil in the garden. When the hermit did not respond to the king's question, the king decided to help in digging with the expectations of answers in return. Now, when the king came and introduced himself, and he told that, "Sir, I am a common man. I have three questions in my mind, and I will be very happy, I'll be very glad if you kindly answer my questions." The hermit did not respond him. He kept digging the soil, and at this moment, the king thought that if I help him in digging the soil, I might be answered. I might be answered. So, because of that, he started digging the soil and he helped the hermit. At this moment, when the king and the hermit were both busy in digging the soil, at this moment, the third person enters the scene. Who is the third person? The wounded man. At this moment, a wounded man came running towards them. Seeing his condition, the king immediately dressed his wound and took care of him. After spending a night in the hut, the wounded man begged forgiveness for plotting to kill the king in order to take revenge of his brother's killing. What is happening here? This wounded man actually had come to the nearby forest and he was simply waiting for the return of the king. Why was he waiting for the return of the king? Because few months back or few days back or few years back, the king had killed his brother, and that is why he was looking for a chance to take the revenge. He was looking for a chance to take the revenge. And what kind of revenge? He wanted to kill the king. He wanted to kill the king and seize all his property. This was the dirty plot that he had planned. But unfortunately, he was caught by the bodyguards of the king and he was being injured. And finally, when he visited the hermit's hut with the hope of some help, it was the king who helped him during the time of trouble. It was the king who dressed his wound and took care of him, just like his brother. And the very next morning, when they woke up, when the king, hermit, and the wounded man woke up, he revealed that he told all the truth that, "Sir, I had actually come to kill you. So please excuse me. Give me excuse. Forgive me for what I had planned." The king could not believe. He was astonished. He got surprised to know this. But at this moment, he was with the sage. So he promised that. It's okay. Whatever he has done is done. Now he has realized his mistake. So the king gave the forgiveness and he forgave him. This incident, this particular incident, deeply touched the king and made him discover his own answers to his three questions, and the answers that he finally got are as follows. After this, he got the answers. What was the answers that he got? He didn't take the help of the hermit. He didn't take the help of any wise man. Rather, this particular incident, it helped him to got his own answer. The first answer to the first question is that the right time to do something is present or now. This is the best time that we have in our mind. This is the best time that we have in our hand. And the present is the most important time when you can do something good. Second question, the most important person to rely or listen to is we ourselves. Whom can you rely? Whom should you listen to? That is we only, not others. You can't believe others. What the people are thinking about you, you can have no idea about it. So it is the best thing that we should rely on ourselves only. We should not rely on others. And the third one, what is the most important thing to do in life? He finally got the answer to that, and that was a very wonderful answer. And what is that? The most important thing to do is to do good to others. So, the king finally got his three answers, but now he has that this beautiful answers that has been discovered by himself only, that has been devised by himself only, without the help of any other, without the help of anybody, not the wise man, not even the wounded man, not even the hermit could answer his questions. Rather, the hermit made him answer his questions by himself. So, with this, we have come to the end of the story. Now, it is time for you to take some questions for better understanding. The first questions is, why did the king want to know the answers of the three questions? Why did the king want to know the answers of the three questions? Why did the king send messages throughout the kingdom? Third question, what according to the hermit is the most important thing to do? Fourth question for you, why did the wise man advise the king to consult a magician? And the fifth question for you is, why did the king refuse to reward the wise man? So, my dear children, I hope you have now understood the story, but it is my request to you all again. After going through this video, it is must for all to go through the text, that is the priceless tool that you have with you. Once you go through the text, then it would enhance your learning and you will never forget it. Thank you. Good night.